Wisdom seekers, the truth of who we are is hidden in the quiet whispers of our souls. Most of us spend our entire lives wandering through the fog, chasing goals, desires, and dreams set by others. But deep within, there's an ancient calling, a yearning to know oneself, to understand the layers beneath the surface of our thoughts, our actions, and our deepest feelings. It's the path of self-awareness, one that the Stoics spoke of endlessly, a journey toward inner mastery. But here's the truth. Only a few ever walk this path. Will you? In a world that distracts us at every turn, that gives us fleeting pleasures to numb the void, self-awareness stands as one of the most elusive and yet one of the most essential qualities a man can possess. It's more than just knowing what makes you happy or sad. It's about seeing yourself as you truly are. It's the ability to step outside your mind, to observe your patterns, your habits, and your beliefs, and then to make deliberate choices that shape your character. For as the philosopher Epictetus once said, know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly. Today, wisdom seekers, we are embarking on a deep dive into the habits that will unlock this rare gift of self-awareness. These are not mere tips or tricks to be read and forgotten. These are ancient, time-tested practices that have shaped the minds of history's greatest philosophers, warriors, and thinkers. Men who mastered themselves first before mastering the world around them. This isn't just about becoming better, it's about becoming complete. Let's journey together into the 10 habits that will transform the way you see yourself, the way you live, and ultimately, the way you think. This is the path toward inner mastery. Habit 1. Silence, the gateway to self-reflection. The noise of the world is a weapon that keeps you distracted from yourself. It is relentless. From the moment we wake up, we are bombarded by notifications, tasks, sounds, and voices. But have you ever asked yourself, when was the last time I sat in absolute silence? Not just the absence of external noise, but internal silence. The quieting of your thoughts, the stillness of your mind. True self-awareness cannot flourish in a chaotic mind. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, would often write in his meditations about the importance of retreating into oneself. He recognized that it was only in these moments of deep, deliberate silence that he could observe his true self. Without this retreat, the mind is like a stormy sea, ever churning, ever reactive. So, how do you practice this habit? It's deceptively simple. Carve out time each day to sit in stillness. This isn't just about meditation, although that can be a powerful tool. It's about creating a space where you can reflect on your day, your actions, and your thoughts. In this silence, observe your mind. Watch how thoughts arise, how emotions pull you in different directions, how desires control your actions. You might discover patterns that surprise you. Perhaps you react with anger whenever you feel disrespected. Maybe you avoid conflict because deep down you fear rejection. These revelations come only in silence. The noise of everyday life drowns out these subtle truths, and most people never hear them. The great philosopher Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." It is in silence that we separate the real from the imagined, the truth from the lies we tell ourselves. You will begin to see how much of your suffering is self-inflicted, how much of your anxiety stems from thoughts that have no real basis in the present moment. Start small. Set aside 10 minutes, then 20, then 30. Let the silence grow, and with it, your self-awareness will deepen. In this space, you will begin to see the truth of who you are, not who the world has conditioned you to be. Habit 2. Journaling, the mirror of the mind. If silence is the gateway to self-reflection, journaling is the mirror that reflects your inner world. Many of the greatest thinkers in history kept a journal, a sacred space where they could pour out their thoughts, reflect on their actions, and gain clarity about their lives. Marcus Aurelius, in his meditations, wasn't writing for anyone else. He was writing to himself, trying to make sense of his thoughts, his struggles, and his journey towards self-mastery. Writing down your thoughts forces you to confront them in a way that thinking alone cannot. It's easy to let thoughts swirl in your mind, to get lost in the chaos of emotions and reactions. But when you write them down, you create order. You take the intangible, thoughts, feelings, and ideas, and make them tangible. Journaling is not about writing perfect prose or creating something for others to read. It's about creating a space for radical honesty with yourself. Ask yourself questions. What did I feel today? Why did I react the way I did? What thoughts occupied my mind the most? As you write, patterns will begin to emerge. You'll see recurring themes in your emotions, your desires, and your fears. More importantly, you'll begin to separate what is truly important from what is not. You'll see where you're wasting energy, where you're stuck in old patterns, and where you need to grow. The philosopher Montaigne once said, "I am myself the matter of my book." Your journal is your personal book, the story of your inner world. And in writing it, you become both the author and the reader of your life. Start by writing every day, even if it's just a few sentences. Over time, this practice will reveal more about yourself than any external advice ever could. Your journal will become a trusted companion on your path to self-awareness, a place where you can meet yourself again and again. Habit 3. Mindful observation, seeing the world and yourself clearly. We walk through life with blinders on. We see what we want to see, hear what we want to hear, and believe what we want to believe. Rarely do we stop to question our perceptions, to examine the filters through which we view the world. But true self-awareness requires that we become mindful observers, both of ourselves and the world around us. Socrates famously said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." This examination begins with mindfulness, the art of paying attention to the present moment without judgment. In mindfulness, you become an observer of your own mind, noticing how thoughts arise, how emotions ebb and flow, and how your body reacts to the world around you. But mindfulness isn't just about sitting still and meditating. It's about bringing this quality of attention into every moment of your day. When you eat, do you really taste the food, or are you distracted by your phone? When you're in conversation, are you truly listening, or are you waiting for your turn to speak? Mindful observation is about seeing things as they are, not as you wish them to be. This includes observing yourself. When you feel anger, ask yourself, why am I angry? When you feel fear, ask yourself, what am I afraid of? Don't judge the emotion or try to suppress it. Simply observe it. The philosopher Lao Tzu said, "He who knows others is wise. He who knows himself is enlightened." Through mindful observation, you gain insight into your inner workings. You begin to see the thoughts, beliefs, and emotions that control you, and in seeing them, you gain the power to change them. This habit is not about becoming detached or emotionless. It's about becoming deeply aware of your inner world so that you can respond to life consciously rather than reacting unconsciously. Practice mindfulness in small ways. When you walk, pay attention to each step. When you speak, notice the words you choose. When you think, observe the thoughts that arise. With time, this habit will transform the way you experience life. You'll see yourself and the world more clearly, free from the distortions of judgment, fear, and desire. And in this clarity, self-awareness will blossom. Habit 4. Embracing solitude, the forge of inner strength. In a world obsessed with connection, the idea of solitude can seem uncomfortable, even frightening. But solitude is not loneliness. It is, as Friedrich Nietzsche once said, the time when we meet ourselves. It is in solitude that we strip away the masks we wear for others and confront our true selves. Many great philosophers and thinkers sought solitude as a way to deepen their self-awareness. Thoreau retreated to the woods, Nietzsche wandered the mountains, and even the Stoic philosophers often withdrew from society to reflect and write. They understood that it is only in the absence of external distractions that we can truly hear the voice within. Solitude is a forge, a place where your inner strength is tested and tempered. In solitude, you cannot hide from yourself. You are forced to confront your fears, your insecurities, and your deepest desires. This confrontation is uncomfortable, but it is necessary for growth. When was the last time you spent a significant amount of time alone, without any distractions? No phone, no TV, no conversation, just you, your thoughts, and the silence? Most people avoid this because it feels uncomfortable. But discomfort is the birthplace of self-awareness. In solitude, you have the space to reflect on your life without the influence of others. You can ask yourself the hard questions. What do I truly want? Who am I without my job, my relationships, or my possessions? What fears are holding me back? But solitude is not just about sitting still and thinking. It can be active. Take a walk in nature, go on a solo retreat, or even just spend a day without any external input. The key is to create space for yourself, to allow your mind to settle and to listen to the voice within. As Blaise Pascal famously said, all of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. Solitude is a powerful tool for developing self-awareness because it forces you to face yourself, all of yourself. It is in these moments of solitude that you will discover the depths of who you are, beyond the roles you play and the expectations of others. Habit 5. Practicing radical honesty. The courage to face the truth. Self-awareness is impossible without honesty. Yet the person we lie to the most is often ourselves. We create stories to justify our actions, to avoid facing uncomfortable truths, and to protect our egos. But these lies keep us from true self-awareness. To see yourself clearly, you must practice radical honesty. Radical honesty means being completely truthful with yourself about your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. It's about confronting the parts of yourself that you would rather ignore. Your insecurities, your fears, your weaknesses. It takes courage to be radically honest because it requires you to face the parts of yourself that are messy, imperfect, and uncomfortable. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, urged his students to accustom yourself to attending carefully to what is said by another, and as much as possible, be in his mind. This principle can also be applied internally. You must attend carefully to what is said by your own mind, without judgment, without excuses. Radical honesty is about acknowledging your flaws without being consumed by them. Ask yourself, where am I not being truthful in my life? What stories am I telling myself to avoid facing reality? Perhaps you convince yourself that you're happy in a job you hate because the alternative seems too risky. Or maybe you stay in a relationship that no longer serves you because you're afraid of being alone. Radical honesty is about stripping away these illusions and seeing the truth for what it is. This doesn't mean being harsh or self-critical. It means being compassionate with yourself while refusing to tolerate self-deception. When you practice radical honesty, you gain clarity. You see where you are holding yourself back, where you are making excuses, and where you need to grow. This clarity is essential for self-awareness because it allows you to make decisions based on reality rather than on a distorted view of yourself. Remember the words of Carl Jung, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Radical honesty is the process of bringing the unconscious into the light, of seeing yourself as you truly are so that you can become who you are meant to be. Habit 6. Seeking feedback. The mirror of others. While solitude and self-reflection are essential for developing self-awareness, there is one blind spot we all have. We cannot see ourselves fully. We are too close, too immersed in our own thoughts and emotions to be completely objective. This is where feedback comes in. Seeking feedback from others is one of the most powerful ways to develop self-awareness because it allows you to see yourself from a different perspective. As Aristotle once said, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. But to know yourself fully, you must also understand how others perceive you. This can be difficult because most of us are afraid of criticism. We don't want to hear that we're wrong or that we have flaws. But without feedback, we remain stuck in our own limited view of ourselves. The key is to seek out feedback from people you trust, people who will be honest with you but also supportive of your growth. When asking for feedback, be specific. Ask about your blind spots. What do you think I could improve on? How do you perceive my strengths and weaknesses? Don't just seek praise or validation. Seek the truth, even if it's uncomfortable. But remember, feedback is not about pleasing others or conforming to their expectations. It's about gaining insight into how your actions, words, and behaviors affect the world around you. You are still the master of your own path, but feedback helps you navigate it more wisely. Take what resonates and leave what doesn't, but always be open to hearing how others experience you. Often we are blind to the impact we have on others, and their perspective can reveal truths about ourselves that we would otherwise never see. The philosopher Confucius said, "He who learns but does not think is lost. He who thinks but does not learn is in great danger." Seeking feedback is how we learn from the world around us, how we sharpen our self-awareness through the eyes of others. Habit 7. Embracing vulnerability. The strength in weakness. We live in a world that often equates strength with invulnerability, especially for men. But the truth is, real strength comes from embracing vulnerability. To be vulnerable means to be open, to be real, and to allow yourself to be seen, flaws and all. Self-awareness cannot grow in a mind that is constantly guarded. If you are always trying to project an image of perfection, if you are afraid of showing your weaknesses, then you are not truly being honest with yourself or others. Vulnerability is the key to authentic self-awareness because it allows you to accept all parts of yourself, not just the parts that are easy to like. Brené Brown, a researcher who has extensively studied vulnerability, says that vulnerability is not winning or losing. It's having the courage to show up and be seen when we have no control over the outcome. This is the essence of self-awareness: to see yourself clearly even when it's uncomfortable, and to allow others to see you as well. Embracing vulnerability means being willing to admit when you're wrong, to ask for help when you need it, and to show your emotions instead of hiding them. It's about being authentic, even when it's difficult. In doing so, you not only deepen your self-awareness, but you also strengthen your relationships. When you allow others to see your true self, you create deeper connections based on trust and authenticity. This, in turn, gives you a clearer reflection of who you are through the eyes of others. The great philosopher Rumi said, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." In vulnerability, we allow the light of self-awareness to enter, to illuminate the parts of ourselves that we usually keep hidden, and in that light, we find true strength. Habit 8. Practicing detachment. The art of letting go. One of the greatest obstacles to self-awareness is attachment. We become attached to our thoughts, our emotions, our identities, and our possessions. These attachments cloud our judgment and keep us from seeing ourselves clearly. The Stoics, especially Epictetus, taught the importance of practicing detachment, the ability to let go of what is beyond our control and to accept things as they are, not as we wish them to be. Some things are up to us and some things are not, Epictetus reminds us. Detachment is not about being indifferent or apathetic. It's about recognizing that our worth is not tied to external things, not to success, not to relationships, not to material possessions. When we practice detachment, we free ourselves from the constant cycle of desire and fear. We stop clinging to what we cannot control. And in doing so, we create space for self-awareness to grow. Ask yourself, what am I attached to? Is it a particular outcome, a belief about myself, or an image I'm trying to maintain? These attachments keep you stuck, unable to see yourself clearly because you are always trying to hold on to something. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop being controlled by your attachments. You can still pursue goals, enjoy relationships, and experience life fully, but you do so from a place of inner freedom, not from a place of clinging. As the Buddha taught, attachment is the root of suffering. When we let go of our attachments, we find peace. And in that peace, we find the clarity of self-awareness. Habit 9. Developing emotional intelligence. Mastering your inner world. Emotions are a powerful force within us. They can drive us to greatness or lead us into destruction. But most people are not aware of how their emotions control them. They react impulsively, letting anger, fear, or desire dictate their actions. Emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your emotions. It is the foundation of self-awareness because it allows you to see how your emotions influence your thoughts and behaviors. The philosopher Aristotle believed that emotional mastery was essential to living a virtuous life. Anyone can become angry. That is easy, he said. But to be angry with the right person, to the right degree, at the right time, for the right purpose, and in the right way, that is not easy. This is the essence of emotional intelligence. To develop emotional intelligence, start by becoming aware of your emotions as they arise. When you feel anger, fear, or joy, pause for a moment and ask yourself, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling this? Don't judge the emotion or try to suppress it. Simply observe it. Over time, this practice will allow you to see patterns in your emotional responses. You will begin to understand what triggers certain emotions and how those emotions influence your thoughts and actions. But emotional intelligence is not just about managing your own emotions. It's also about understanding the emotions of others. By developing empathy, you gain a deeper understanding of the people around you, which in turn gives you a clearer reflection of yourself. The Stoics taught that while we cannot control what happens to us, we can control how we respond. Emotional intelligence gives you the power to choose your response, rather than being controlled by your emotions. This is the foundation of true self-awareness, the ability to act consciously rather than react impulsively. Habit 10. Cultivating purpose, the anchor of self-awareness. Finally, self-awareness cannot exist in a vacuum. It must be anchored in something greater than yourself. This is where purpose comes in. Purpose is the guiding star that gives your life direction and meaning. Without it, you may know yourself deeply, but you will still feel lost. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche once said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." Purpose gives you that why. It connects your self-awareness to a greater vision for your life. But purpose is not something you find. It is something you cultivate. It grows from your values, your passions, and your unique gifts. To cultivate purpose, ask yourself, what do I care about deeply? What impact do I want to make in the world? How can I use my strengths to serve something greater than myself? As you clarify your purpose, you will find that your self-awareness deepens. You will understand not only who you are, but also why you are here. This sense of purpose will guide your decisions, shape your actions, and give meaning to your life. In the end, self-awareness is not just about knowing yourself. It's about using that knowledge to live a life of purpose, to become the man you are meant to be. Conclusion, wisdom seekers, the path to self-awareness is not an easy one. It requires courage, honesty, and a willingness to confront the parts of yourself that you would rather avoid. But it is a path worth walking because it leads to true freedom. The freedom to know yourself, to master yourself, and to live a life of purpose and meaning. These 10 habits are not quick fixes. They are practices that, if done consistently, will transform your life. They will help you see yourself clearly, free from the illusions of ego, fear, and attachment. And in that clarity, you will find the strength, wisdom, and inner peace that comes from truly knowing yourself. So, wisdom seekers, are you ready to begin this journey? Are you ready to cultivate the habits that will unlock your true self? The path is yours to walk. The time is now.